Hello and welcome along to Adobe After Effects Basics with your host Robert Smith. In this part 2 of creating a basic slideshow for the Hipster media site, video I should say, we're going to add a bit of finesse to what we've already got. So if I rewind, let's play what we've got. We've got that, we've got the animation coming together, we've got the beard fading in, like that. We're ready to add a bit more drama. Now to do that, what I want to do is I want to change the colour over time of the building and the reflection and this little ellipse thing here. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use an effect. The effect I'm going to use, first of all, I'll go back to the start, and over here in my effects and presets, I just want to type in Hue and Saturation. This is something you might be used to in Photoshop. You've probably seen this one before. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to grab this effect like this, and I'm going to drag it onto the building layer like that. Notice how I just grab and drag straight down here onto the timeline till the building layer highlights, and then I let go. And what's happened is over here you'll see now you've got your project window has been replaced by these effects controls. In other words, how we play around with the actual effect. So that's the technique. You just drag an effect here onto a layer, and this should change here so we can play around with it. Okay, now we can't see those effect because now they're on stage, so I'm going to have to drag my timeline till that image comes together on stage to about here so I can see what's going on. Okay, now we're not going to look at deeply into this effect. We're just going to use the colorize. Now to do that, I'm going to click colorize like this little colorize button, and you'll notice now that the buildings change colors. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to go here. We don't really see it till about here, so I'm going to put my first keyframe here. I'm going to click here and put a keyframe for the colorize hue. Let's open up that building layer and have a look at it. You'll notice now we've not only got transform, we've got effects down here and hue and saturation. And I just might move that up a little bit so we can see it. Okay, we've got hue and saturation, and there's the keyframe I just made under the colorize thing up here. Okay, I'm going to move along a little bit to about here. And I'm just going to use this number here in the colorize hue. See where it's got this number? I'm just going to drag that to the right a bit. And you'll notice how the colors change now, like that. Then I might go to about here. You can just be random like this. And I'll just drag it maybe until it turns bluish. Okay, great, like that. And then I'll just drag along a little bit here, and I'll just come back a little bit, maybe past that green. It's a pretty ordinary green. To that color there. Okay, and I might zoom out on my timeline just a little bit so I can see it. Fabulous. By the way, we're not going to use much more than about 6 seconds of this timeline, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, I'm just going to grab this keyframe and drag it to about 6 seconds. Again, it's just a random color change. So let's just watch that. What happens? In it comes, and now you notice the buildings are changing color, just because of those keyframes we put inside that effect. Okay, we want to copy those keyframes. Command C to copy those. Drag a marquee over them. Command C to copy them, like that. And let's put my playback head back at the start. Now I'm going to grab the hue and saturation, which we've got over here, if I can find it. There it is there. I'm going to grab this and drag this onto the reflection layer. Now just drag it up there and let go. And I'll Apple V to paste the keyframes that we copied earlier. I'll go to the ellipse layer, do the same thing, grab the hue and saturation and drag it onto there. And Apple V to paste the keyframes. Now let's have a look at those keyframes. There they are. They're in black because they're inside that effect. To get it inside them, we actually need to twirl all those down, and there's those keyframes we just pasted. So let's have a look at that. Okay, as you can see now. Now, if they're a little bit random, you'll notice that the colours are a little bit offset. That's quite the look I'm after. Okay, you don't want it to be too uniform. Very nice indeed. Okay, so we've got that colour change. Now it's time to add a bit of typography to what's going on. Okay, to do that, I just might zoom this up a little bit. Now you'll notice how your project window is now your effects control window. And to toggle between those, just click in there like that, and the shortcut is Command 0, like that. Command 0, you can go between the effect and the actual project window. Okay, having done that, I need to put some typography in there, so I click on my type tool up here. Now to create a type layer, I simply click on the stage like that and I get a text layer. Now the font I want, I'll start off with Fairview, great font, and we're going to call it Hipster, then space Media in all capitals like that. I'm going to change the first word, being a bit of an old typographer. I'm going to use my my brand new script font I'm using all the time, this Wolf in the City font. Let's have a look at that, looking quite good. I'm going to grab that and just drag it down here into place to about here, like that. Okay, so now I've got some typography. Now you'll notice as soon as I put anything on the stage or some type like this, it takes up the whole timeline. If I zoom out, you'll see that those two words have taken up the whole timeline. And I really don't want them to appear till about 2.5 seconds. To about here is where I want them to appear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the start of this hipster media like this. See how I can just simply drag it like that to where if you hold the shift key down, it'll click to it like that. So we really don't want that hipster media to happen till about then, and that's called the in point of this layer here. Okay, so we're going to actually swap the building for this type. To do that, I'm going to grab the hipster media layer and just drag it on top of the building, just for neatness. I don't have to do this, but it just looks a lot neater. Now, to get to the start of this layer, rather than right back at the beginning of the video, if I press the letter I, that'll take me right back to the start of this layer. I'm going to hold the shift key down and select the building layer as well at the same time. Then I'm going to press the letter T, like this, for opacity, to get the two opacity properties up. And I'm going to put a keyframe in both of them. Because they're both selected, I get a keyframe in both layers. Then I'm going to deselect it, and the hipster media layer, this one here, I'm going to drag it down to 0%, like this number here, and leave the building at 100. Then I'm going to go to about 3 seconds there, like that, in time. Then I'm going to drag the opacity of the hipster layer up to 100%, and the opacity of the building back to 0. Very nice indeed. So let's have a look at that. In it comes, like this, the building's there, the building goes away, and the type is there. Okay, so that's basically our introduction. Now, when we do a video in After Effects, say a 30-second video, we like to break it down into sections. Like this is the introduction. So this is all we really want to put inside this composition, this intro composition, I like to call it. So I'm going to zoom out like this till I get to about every 2 seconds on the zoom. And what I want to do is I want to shorten this comp. Right now it's 30 seconds long. I don't need 30 seconds. I need about 5.5 seconds is what I need. So I'm going to move my playback head to about here, to about 5.5 seconds, about there like that. Then I'm going to press the letter N, N for Nelly, on the keyboard. Now that's brought the end of the composition marker, this yellow thing, to that point in time. So really, that's all I've got now. Now to actually trim my comp so it's only, right now I haven't done anything, I've just moved the marker. To trim it so it's only 5.5 seconds long, I'm going to hold the control key down and click on this little grey area here like this until this dialog box comes up, and I'm going to trim comp to work area. So right now we have a buildings intro like that is only 5.5 seconds long. Now, to understand how this is put together, we're going to make a new composition. I'm going to go to Composition, New, like this. I'll use the 1280 by 720, 25 frames, and 30 seconds is fine. So, okay, like that. Now, one of the difficult things to understand in After Effects is how you can drag one composition into another. So I'm going to grab that buildings. Actually, I'm going to rename that buildings by clicking on it, like that. Press the return and type in intro. And then press return again. It's a really weird way of doing things. I'm going to grab this intro and I'm going to drag it down onto the timeline of this comp 1. Let's change the name of that as well. So I'll select that, press return, and I'll call this final, for the final comp if you like. Now what I'm going to do is, let's play it. As you can see now, all those layers we had in the other comp are now simply one layer. Like that. And this is what's going to happen. We're going to make 3 or 4 compositions, and then we're going to drag them all into this final composition to make up our 30-second timeline. But while we're here, let's have a little bit of fun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to blow it up. And everybody wants to blow stuff up in Photoshop. So under Effects Presets over here, I'm going to type in Pixel, like that. And the effect I'm after is called Pixel Poly. So I'm going to grab this Pixel Poly and drag it straight down here onto the layer. And as you can see, what Pixel Poly does, it does this. It blows things up. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to blow it up as a transition. So to do that, Pixel Poly will always start as soon as you apply the effect, like right at the start as I press the space bar. So I'm going to go to about, I don't want it to happen till about 4.5 seconds, so 4.5. I select this start time and just type in 4.5, and it won't happen until we go through about 4.5 seconds, so we can see everything, and then it will start to explode, which is what we want. Now, a detailed explanation of this effect is really not appropriate now, but some of the things I do most of the time is I'll just drop the gravity back to about 20, so when it blows up, it blows straight at us rather than falling down, like that. And I'll put the force up to about 180, just to make it a bit more dramatic, so it blows up more dramatically, like that. And lastly, the grid spacing I'll put right up to make it large to about 120, 130 is good. So it'll blow up in very, very large pieces. Let's watch this in action. In it comes, we've watched it, then it blows up and goes away. Exactly what we want. So now we've got our intro finished. We've got it on the main timeline, and we've also put in an explosive transition. Okay, more coming up in the next video. Thanks for watching.